Hey folks, how you doing? And welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to model the new heaven and the new earth in Blender. Okay, so let's get going here. Now I've already loaded a image texture. It's just a map of the earth, okay, something I downloaded online just to prepare for this. You can find them all over. So here's what we're going to do, blah blah blah, is press play. I got some music for you, so enjoy. Okay, so right off the bat, we're not going to need this light because we're going to choose our own lighting. So I'm going to select that, press delete, enter. I'm going to add a mesh icosphere, and then I'm going to scale that by pressing S. Okay, and then I'm going to press 1, 0, 0, 0 1,000 times and hit enter. Okay, so this is going to be our light source, okay? So what we're going to do is go to Materials, New, and get into Cycles. And I'm going to say Use Nodes, and where it says Color, to the right of that, click on it, and I'm going to, I'm sorry, where it says Diffuse BDSF, we're going to go with an emission on that. Okay, and where it says color, I'm going to click on the color and drag the right slider all the way up next to that round rainbowy thing. So we're emitting white hot light, okay, out of our icosphere. Now at the top where you can select your modifiers and so forth in the camera, there's a little cube. Click on the cube. And all the way at the bottom, scroll to the bottom where it says Cycle Settings, and it'll say Ray Visibility, Uncheck Camera, okay? Because we don't want to see that when we render this thing, okay? So that's what that's going to do. Okay, so now just basically, I don't want to see my icosphere right now. So I'm going to click its little eyeball, and so we don't have to look at that. So now, I'm going to go ahead and set up my world. But before I do that, just to make things easier for rendering, I'm going to go to my display over here, and I'm going to click on World Background. Okay? So I'll go to my world over here. Okay? And you don't have to click Use Nodes, but just click on the color and drag the slider all the way down to black. See what that did right there? So now we got a nice black world. Okay, so next thing, we want to add a mesh UV sphere. Alright, now to the left over here where it says segments, we're going to double that to 64 and hit enter. And where it says rings, we're also going to double that to 32 and hit enter. And then on the size, this is the same function, kind of like scaling. I'm just going to hit it 4 for now and hit enter, and that scaled it. And if you notice over here on our dimensions, we've moved it to 8. Okay, now the true dimensions of the earth is 7.926 in the X direction and 7.926 in the Y direction, and that's our equatorial diameter, okay? And in the Z direction, we're going to go 7.901, and that's our diameter for the poles, okay? So next we want to, I think, give this thing a texture, right? Okay, so here we go. Go into materials. We go new, and where the color thing is to the right of that, we want to select image texture. Okay, and then I'm going to open up the image that I already had downloaded and just select that. So we got our material, we got our texture in there. So now we get again out of perspective mode by pressing 5 and go to orthographic, and then press 3 for our right orthographic view. Okay. We don't see the texture yet. I'll bring up the material. We should see the texture, but we don't. Okay. And the reason why is because we have to go into edit mode and select mesh, UV unwrap, sphere projection. Okay, so now we do have the texture unwrapped, but if you notice here where North America is, there we have a little problem where India is kind of intersecting with North America over there, and here we have Africa and Asia is all stretched out, and it just doesn't look right, right? So here, to fix this, what we're going to do is on the bottom here, we're going to go to our UV image editor. Okay. Now the trick is with this, what you need to do is you need to scale this thing so it fits just neatly in this box. Okay. Don't worry about these two things on the sides, but the main portion of this thing has to fit right inside this box to do that. Now there's a little trick that I figured out. What you do is you click on UV, and here where it says constrain to image bounds, I want to check that. Okay, and then we'll press G to grab this thing and move it on over, and we'll just click and leave it right there. So now the next thing we want to do is go right back to that and uncheck that constrain to image bounds. And now we want to press S to scale it, and we can scale it. You'll see it'll scale in every direction. But we want to hit X because we only want to scale this thing in the X direction. Okay. Now before I do that, the other little trick that you need to know is over here where your cursor options are. This is set to bounding box center right now. We want to set this to 2D cursor. Okay. So now watch what happens when I press S to scale and X. It's going to constrain it to that area by pressing X, but it's also going to leave only one side to be scaled and the other side is good. So we want to scale that all the way over like that, and I'm going to just go ahead and zoom in right here, and I'm going to go and zoom all the way in. Okay. I can. Okay, I'm all the way in now. Now I'm just press SX again and move that right over the line. Now you want to make sure you're just over that line, because then you won't get any artifacts on the north and south poles of this thing. Okay, so right there we're good. Okay, so now watch what happens when I switch back to the 3D view. You could see we don't have India intersecting with North America there anymore, and our map is good. Okay, we can go into object mode, and we'll notice that our poles are nice as well. Okay, we don't have any artifacts on the poles there, so we're nice. This is a nice accurate map. I mean, look at this thing. These areas show the deserts. So they will show up quite a bit brighter on that little screen. We won't need this anymore, just to give you a little better view. And look at all the big deserts in Asia here. And there's North America. It takes about 4 hours to fly over this. It's amazing. Got a big desert down here in South America as well. And okay, and of course the green areas. There's our nice trees, and there's our South Pole, there's our North Pole, and our map is good. Okay, so, and the detail of this thing is awesome. You really got to check it out. It's really, really a lot of fun. And it's real quick too. We don't have a big problem. It's not laggy at all. All right. So the next thing, I don't need to look at the grid, so I'm going to shut that off. And the axis, we can shut them off. I'll put the Z-axis up so you can see how that thing rotates around the axis there. Okay. So now we're going to switch up into perspective mode, okay, and then we could jump right inside of our planet here. Isn't that amazing? And there's our cube that we started off with. Now we want to scale this cube to the actual dimensions of the kingdom. So what we're going to do is select it and hit S 0.75, hit enter. Okay, so now if you look at this object and the dimensions right here, we're at 1.500, okay? And if I click on our globe, we have obviously 7.926 and 7.901. So that indicates the diameter of the equator at 7,926 miles, and the diameter of the poles, around the poles, at 7,901 miles. And this thing is a cube, so in all dimensions it's 1,500. So this thing is 1,500 cubic miles. That's our new Jerusalem, our new kingdom. Okay. Now let me just back out here because I just want to explain something to you. Jesus said that the kingdom is already among you, okay? And what he simply meant by that is we are all related to Adam, okay? And as we know, Adam is the first human being. And Jesus said, I am the first and the last. So he is indicating that he is Adam, okay? Jesus is Adam, okay? That's simply what that means. And what he meant by, like, the kingdom is among you already? Well, it is, because we all come from Adam's loins. Okay, well, save Eve. Eve came from Adam's rib. Okay, but there you have it. You see how the kingdom is already among us, because we are all related to this first human being, Adam. Okay, who Jesus is claiming to be the first, okay? The first and the last, okay? So I just want you to keep that in mind, okay? How the kingdom is among us because of our relationship to Adam, okay? That's how the kingdom is already among us. Now, if we jump inside this globe, this is the kingdom that we're doing. We're doing the new earth and the new kingdom. Okay. So what we want to do is, isn't that neat though? I'm going to just press the eyeball on the cube so we don't have to look at it for now. But we're inside the earth here. I'm going to click on that and press the decimal point so we can focus to it. Isn't that amazing? There's Australia. We got the South Pole over there. There's South America, North America, Africa, Asia, and we're in there. There's the North Pole. Europe is over there. I mean, we're looking at this, our planet, inside of our planet. It's just, I mean, how cool is that? And here, just to illustrate this a little better for you. Wow, that's pretty cool, huh? I can drag this a little bit further out of the way for you so you can see a little better. Isn't that neat? Yeah, I think that's pretty awesome. Okay, so I'm going to click the eyeball on that cube again so we can see it. So now what we want to do with this thing is we want to slide this up out of the middle of the planet here, okay? So, oops, I grabbed the wrong thing. Control Z. select that cube and grab the Z-axis and lift it right out of there. Okay. Did I lift it far enough? Oh yes. Okay. There it is. Okay. So we don't need to lift it that far. Okay. So here's the thing. I'm going to jump back into orthographic mode now, and I'm going to press 3 to get on our right side. So now I'm going to go Shift and drag this thing down so I can see. And I'm going to go into solid mode for this operation. And what I want to do is I want to take this thing and I want to drag it just down into our planet like so. Okay? And I'm going to press decimal point, and I'm going to press 5 to go into perspective mode. Now we can jump inside of this thing and have a look around. Isn't that neat? We're inside of our new kingdom that we're modeling up for us today. Isn't that neat? Okay, we're inside of it. Okay, and there is the planet on the floor. Okay, we're on the North Pole. Okay, so let me turn this around and focus and jump on out of it. And we're looking at the floor coming through the North Pole now. Okay, you see that? Okay, now what we want to do is we want to make sure that this thing is just poking through. See how I'm just coming through there? Okay, on the corners of that, you just want it. Let me just try to focus in on the corners, and that looks pretty good. Let me just make sure that it's just one click on the other side of it. Yeah. You see what I just did there? I brought that cube just, and I'm going to check all 4 corners of it to make sure that I'm just broken the surface of that, of our planet there. Okay, so we're looking good there. We're in there. Okay, we're inside the North Pole. But that's, I don't think, the appropriate placement of this kingdom. So I'm going to switch back to orthographic mode. Press 5 for that. Click on my planet. I'm going to press the decimal point so that now we are pivoting around our planet. Okay, and we can go ahead and go in material so we can see that. So we have our cursor. We have our cursor at 0, 0, 0, and if you want to verify that, you can over here where it says 3D cursor. We're at 0, 0, 0 right here. We want that at 0, 0, 0. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find an appropriate place for the kingdom to set down in, and I was thinking the most appropriate place would be in Israel, and namely in Jerusalem, because that's where Jesus was crucified. So naturally the kingdom to come should be placed directly on Jerusalem, where Jesus was crucified. Okay, Jerusalem is the Holy Land, and here we are. Here we are in the Holy Land. Okay, there's the Red Sea, and now here's a little tip for you. This is the Salt Sea right here. I've actually swum in this sea. It holds you up because it's very, very densely filled with salt. This is the Lake Galilee, and I had some local fishermen fish me some food from here, and it was very tasty fish food. So what we need to do is, Jerusalem is, if you look at it on the map, this is the Salt Sea. It's like directly to the left of that. So we're going to try to position this cursor, if it behaves for us, just to the left of that. And that's about as close as I can get it, because the thing jumps around from pixel to pixel like that. So that's how we want this thing orientated. We're in orthographic mode now. So we're going to zoom out. Okay. Now I'm going to switch this up to wireframe mode, because we want to do a special thing here. And I'm going to turn off the world background so we can see our background. So we can see everything, rather, because we had it all black. Okay, if I select that and I turn it back on, the world seems to disappear. It's still there. It's only that we turned our world black. So in gray we can see everything. So with my cube selected, and we don't want to move from this orientation because we are focused now in on Jerusalem. Okay, so I'm going to shift to drag so I can blow this up a little bit, just so I can, what we want to do is orientate it. So here's how we do that with our cube selected. We want to go to where it says rotation, and we want to rotate this thing around the Z axis. Okay, so here's how we do it. We just drag it around. Just drag it, and when you get, see what I'm doing here is I'm aligning this. I want this perfectly aligned. Okay, so I can now click by increments of 1/10 of a degree. So it's a fairly accurate system here. And it looks like we're at 38.5 degrees. That looks good to me. Okay, close enough. So we'll zoom on into it just to verify. I think we're there. So now shift and drag, and what we want to do with this thing now is now we want to go in the, we don't want to change the orientation, but we want to rotate the Y, or oh, I'm sorry, I didn't want to do that. Control Z. You can always back up in Blender when you make a mistake. So we want to rotate this in the, no, we don't want to rotate that in the X direction either. Control Z. Oh, I remember. What we want to do here is go Object, Transform, Origin to 3D Cursor. Okay, so now our origin for this object is down here by the 3D cursor. So now, when we rotate in our X direction, you see we're rotating around our origin. But I don't want to rotate the X, I want to rotate the Y. See? That's how we want this thing lined up here. So I'm going to shift to drag, okay, and try to get this to fill the screen as best as possible. Okay, that's pretty good. So we're at 58 degrees right now. You see what I'm doing with that? I'm rotating it around. So I'm kind of centering that up. And let's see here. We can step through it and click through it. And looks like 58.3 degrees is about dead nuts on the money. So you see what we just did there? We have now orientated our kingdom to come directly over Jerusalem, with the center of our kingdom is directly on Jerusalem, right where Jesus suffered and died, and they killed him, okay? And I say they killed him because we didn't kill him, folks. They did, okay? Anyways, so now let's get back on out of this and show you what I did. See this? I can drag the Y slider around, and that's what we basically did. We slid that over there. Control Z, and we're at 58.3 degrees. Okay, so now let's have a look in material mode. And you can see, we'll go to textured mode actually, because you can see the squares of the kingdom a little better. But you can see now what we have done. We have landed the kingdom on the promised land. Okay, that's our promised land? Nah, not really. This kingdom is our promised land, okay? Now remember, I said the kingdom is already among us. That's because of our relationship to Adam. Okay, that's important to make that distinction. Okay, this is the coming kingdom that we pray for. Thy kingdom come, we pray to God. God, let your kingdom come, right? Okay, so that is the kingdom that is going to come. And we were given these specific dimensions in the Bible for a reason, so we know what they are, okay? Because, and if I jump into perspective mode, okay, I'm in perspective mode, and I'm just going to click on that to select it and press the decimal point so that we can pivot around it. Actually, we got the pivot point down. Well, we are pivoting around this object, but look, if we jump inside this object, we will see that's what the landscape looks like inside of our kingdom here. Okay, this is now it's a new kingdom and a new earth. We've successfully modeled a new kingdom and a new earth. Isn't that neat? It kind of reminds me of like a big diamond ring, doesn't it? Kind of looks like a little bit of a marriage there going on there to me, it's kind of exciting. But anyway, so this is the landscape in the kingdom. Now, as you know, if we flip this thing around, the bottom of that kingdom is flat. Okay, so we need to adjust our planet accordingly to accommodate this kingdom, because if we have a look here, I'm going to select that, and I'm going to make this local, okay, and I'm going to go object, transform, origin to geometry this time, okay. Now, by making it local, if I make it global, you'll notice that the z-axis is in alignment with our z-axis. I don't know if that shows up. Maybe I gotta turn the world background on. But you should be able to see the z-axis where the poles are to our planet. But you notice how the axis on our cube there, or our kingdom, is alignment with the z. It is in alignment with the z. So I'm going to make that local, and now it's in alignment with itself. Okay. So if I go ahead and grab this thing, you'll notice. Let me Control Z out. Back that up for just a moment. And what I wanted to show you here is, if we sort of manipulate this to be in some sort of here, if I'll go to orthographic, so it's kind of better on orthographic to see. You get more of a perfect alignment, kind of like an architectural type of thing. Okay, so look, now if I grab this thing, you notice that if the kingdom comes like this, the earth is just not going to accommodate the coming kingdom like this. It's just going to teeter-totter on that area, because the kingdom, the foundation of this kingdom is flat and our earth is round. So that's just not going to work properly. We need for this kingdom to fit, okay? And as you know, you can't put a square peg in a round hole, I guess, So that's kind of what I'm kind of thinking about here. So here's what we need to do. All right, now I'm going to show you. This is very interesting. It's called a Boolean operation. Okay, I'm going to take this. I'm going to select the Earth. Okay, and I'm going to, where the little tool wrench is, I'm going to click Add a Modifier, and I'm going to go Boolean. Click that. Okay, I'm going to set this to difference. Okay. First, you know what? All right, I'll show you what I mean. So, and where it says Object, I'm going to select the cube. Okay, and apply that. Now watch, when I pull this cube away, you will notice that we have now Boolean the Earth. Now this is the critical thing, because this is what we all have to pitch in towards. This is our new construction project. Okay, and honestly, I just, decimal point on there so we can rotate around it. But look at the the urban sprawl that's going on here. You could see North America from a satellite. I mean, at nighttime. Okay, there's so many roads and highways in North America. China here. China's becoming very, very developed. Australia, Europe, of course. There's thousands and thousands of roadways in this planet that we have developed. That certainly is within the realm of possibility to basically develop this. Okay, so we can accommodate for our coming kingdom, and that's what I'm talking about. Okay, hopefully this will be the last ditch that we need to dig. That's the good news, isn't it, folks? So this is the plan. Okay, now let me just show you. I don't even know why I'm even thinking about this, but for example's sake, I'm going to go ahead and Control Z, and you don't need to apply that modifier. So, see, I took it away. I just undid it. But if I chose to do the modifier on this, okay, on the kingdom, all right. Now, if I added, I have it selected, so I click Add a Modifier, Boolean, okay. I want to do a difference, and I want this time choose for object, choose the sphere, and click Apply on that. Now, notice I can drag this thing up a little bit. You'll see that the cube has been booleaned. Okay. Now that's not a very likely thing to happen because we would have to change the dimensions in the Bible that were given to us by God to do that. Do you follow what I'm trying to say here? That's not going to happen that way. See, I really don't think so. God gave us these dimensions. The thing is 1,500 cubic miles big. Okay, it doesn't have a boolean, cut with the Earth so this accommodates the Earth in this manner. So this is not part of the new covenant. Remember, every covenant has two parts to it. There's God's part and there's our part. Okay, what I'm talking about here is we got to do our part. Okay, so let me just Control Z to undo that. Control Z. Okay, so I'm going to undo what I just did there. See? So this is God's part. You see that? It's all nice 1,500 cubic miles, and it has a flat bottom. You got that? There's no question about that there's a flat bottom on that thing. Okay, so let me just show you an interesting way that we can go ahead and do this. I'm going to take this object, and I'm going to go Object, Duplicate Objects. Okay, I'm going to duplicate it. Okay, see, there's my duplicate. Now, the reason why I want to make a duplicate is it will become apparent to you. But over here, where we see all of our objects and our stuff that we've made, we'll see that we have our icosphere, we have a sphere, we have this sphere. Okay. So that's our duplicate sphere. Okay. Now I want to shut this sphere off, so we only have one sphere that we're working with. This is our duplicate sphere. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select it, and I'm going to add a modifier. I'm going to add that Boolean modifier. Okay. This time I'm going to leave it on intersect, and for object I'm going to choose the cube because it intersects with the cube. Now watch what happened when I shut the cube off. Okay, press the decimal point so we can focus in on that and pivot around that. This is the landmass, okay, in question. Okay, now thankfully Jerusalem is peace, land of peace, so everybody seems to be very, very peaceful there. Okay, ever since the time of Abraham, right? So there's been a whole bunch of peace going on over there, in there. Anyway, facetiousness inside. Did I say that? Did I say that right? Facetiousness aside. No. Alright, sarcasm aside, but this is the area that we have to make nice and flat to accommodate our kingdom here. So you'll notice we got all these bodies of water around here. Okay, now if I turn on the other sphere, you'll see how that kind of outline, and you'll see it even better if I go ahead to wireframe mode. Of course, I'm going to have to background back to gray, but this area has to come out for the cube to go ahead and come on in it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add another modifier. We're going to do this bouillon. We'll switch it back to material mode, I guess. We can see what we're doing. I'll go to texture mode, that's fine. But I want to shut off the sphere that we just bouillon, this one. Okay. Shut that off, and we'll shut this sphere, or turn this sphere on. And we're going to add a modifier. Okay, bouillon. This time we'll choose difference, and with the object is the cube. Okay, now you see what that just did right there. That put this base or foundation for our kingdom. And if I go ahead and put the eyeball on the cube, I can turn that on and off right there, so that the cube can fit perfectly in this excavated place. Okay, so this is what we want to excavate, and you'll notice that we have water over here on the bottom. We have some water right here. Probably have to be a little dam right there. We got water over here, and I think these are seas actually. Let me just turn on the other one. Yeah, those are seas. This is like the Red Sea. This is the Mediterranean. I'm not sure what these seas are, but they put them in the comments, so I know. But so you see what needs to be done here. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to apply the bouillon to our sphere. Okay, so it's there. But we also have the duplicate, remember? There's our sphere, there's our duplicate. Shut the duplicate off, turn the sphere on, put the duplicate on, and you can see how that works there. So the idea here is if I grab this thing, okay, this duplicate, or if I grab this, did I apply that? Oh, I have to apply it. Okay. If I grab that, yes, there we go. See, that's the idea, what I'm trying to talk to you here about. We need to take this thing kind of like off of the planet and put it somewhere else. And that way, when the cube comes, it'll have a nice place to go and rest into. And I mean, we could take this thing and put it wherever we want. I mean, we'll have all of eternity to play around with this stuff. So, I mean, if we want to, we can rebuild that thing piece by piece and put it right there on top of our new Jerusalem. See that? Oh, well, I guess I gotta slide it over. But, I think, whoops. Well, if I manipulate this in this way, I guess I can probably slide it on over. I don't know. I know there's a way to do this, but I'm just, okay, something like that. See? So that is the way this whole thing functions. See, if we go ahead and delete the cube, or not delete it, and we're not going to delete it, just shut it off. But see what I'm talking about there? So I'll Control Z, keep pressing Control Z until I get that back into place. So you follow what the plan here is, the master architectural plan here that God gave us the dimensions. I mean, come on. If we didn't need to know 1,500 cubic miles, He wouldn't have told us. Now, He told us for a reason, folks. And we have to do something to earn our salvation. And this kingdom is going to save us. Okay? So, getting back to the kingdom and how we want to texture this thing out. Shutting off this sphere. Now, it's kind of cool. We can go up into, we can select this. We can go into edit mode. And then I'm going to set this thing for faces. I'm just going to pick this one little face right here. And I'm going to go to materials. And I'm going to click the plus sign because I want to add a new material. Okay. And I'm just going to change the color to a nice, kind of brownish color. Alright. And now I'm going to say assign. And if I go to material, we should have that. Okay. So I want that to look like the earth, okay? I think it's appropriate to just have a nice foundation for this kingdom, be like raw earth, you know. I like the idea of that. So I'm going to bring the color down and go into object mode. And so that's kind of what we're shooting for there. A nice dark charcoal or chocolate earth tone. Okay? That's pretty nice. Little reddish. Okay. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and go back into edit mode. Edit mode. I'm going to select that face. And shift select this face right here. And then we need to shift select that face. And this face. Oh, and that face. You got to right click in Blender. And backwards. But okay, so there we have our other faces selected, and we're going to do a new material. So we press plus and new, and take the slider, drag it all the way down to black. Sign. Jump back into object mode. So we can see we have nice black edges for that. Okay? I just wanted to make them black because they stand out. And I wanted to bring you the idea here that there is a curvature to this earth here. You see that pretty plainly. So when the kingdom comes in, it fits just right. Okay? Now, last but not least, we want to discuss our kingdom and how we're going to texture our kingdom. Okay, so that it's kind of looks like a little Death Star now, but it doesn't have that round thing around it. It's kind of like, yeah, imagine shooting a like Death Star ray out of the earth like that, huh? It'd be pretty devastating. But anyway, so getting on with, we'll turn on our cube. So we want to assign a material to this. I'm going to select that. and we'll go, and I think this already has a material, so we'll just say use nodes, and where it says diffuse, I'm going to change that to a glass, BDSF. And now if I render it, let's see what happens. So I think I have to turn on my icosphere, put the little eyeball on my icosphere so it lights everything up. There we go. Okay, so we're looking at a glass material here. Pretty neat. I think I can press the period thing to zoom in on that. Okay, so that's the that's what's going on here. Now, if I go ahead and remember our sphere that we did a duplicate of, it's kind of neat because you can go ahead and see directly through that. This is the kind of like the work that we have to do here, is remove all of that and kind of flatten it, like the prophecy in Isaiah says that the mountains will be leveled and the valleys filled in, and to make way, to prepare a path for the Lord. Isn't that amazing? A highway for the Lord. Kind of like the Nazca lines. I was just watching the Nazca. Of course, the Nazca, they were kind of, I guess you could say, pagan gods. So I don't know whether they came or not. Some people say the UFO people, maybe they came, but this is the one true God, okay? So, but anyway, so if I go ahead and click the little eyeball on that, there, that shows our work is complete. We've made this a nice flat highway for the Lord, filled in the valleys, leveled down the mountains, and made that all nice and flat, because of course, as you know, the bottom of this kingdom is flat. Okay, the other thing about this is, this kingdom is also, from what I read in the Bible, it's gold, but like glass, so you can see through it. Okay, so I do have a glass on there, but I want to change the color just a little bit. I'm going to make the brightness on full, okay, first of all. And what I want to do is, I want to take this color and put it on like 0.5, 50%, okay? So it gives it a sort of little bit of a goldish hue to this thing, but it's still transparent, right? Like glass. So then I thought another really cool thing that we could do is, I'm just going to exit out of this, go to solid mode for just a moment, so I could bring up the node editor and put this in a better position so we can go ahead and see. Now, I'm going to switch this to node editor, and there is our texture. We can see the glass is being fed to our material output right there, and I've changed and adjusted the color. Okay, all you gotta do is click on that to adjust it. So what I want to do here is I want to add some nodes to this, okay? Because I read that there's somebody inside this kingdom crowned with a crown of a rainbow, and it looks like a rainbow, okay? And God is remembering His covenant with Noah, okay? Let me replay that song because it's an original. This is an original too, but we'll get back to it. Yeah, you know what? We heard this already. Let's listen to the other one. Here's an original. Okay. So what I want to do here is I want to add a few things to this. Okay. So first of all, I want to add a color mix, RGB. Okay. All right. And I want to add a texture, a magic texture. Okay. And I want to add a input Fresnel. Okay. Now, I'll show you how this works. It's pretty neat. So if we go back to our rendered mode, notice we don't have... Oh, okay, there's our glass. Okay, now if I put this mix, this color mix into the color of our glass BDSF, or BSDF, you'll notice we'll go back to a glass without color. Okay, but we're plugging a Fresnel into the factor of our color mix. So now we have color 1 and color 2. Now I'll show you what these colors do. I'm going to just go ahead and bring the brightness all the way up to full on both of these, and I'll show you what they do. Now, what we have is color 1 and color 2. Now color 1 is going to control the overall color of that whole thing, okay? So we wanted the overall color of the whole thing to give it a slight kind of yellowish hue. And this is kind of neat because you could just drag this slider back and forth on that particular one. I'm going to change it to 25. Right in the middle there, it's fine. With that. Now, the way the Fresnel works typically is the outside edges. Now, this other color, color 2, is going to adjust the outside of that. You see how that works? The first color adjusts all of it. The Fresnel, this color 2, is adjusting kind of like the outside of it. Okay? But I'm going to leave, now typically a Fresnel you'd have it a little bit darker on the outside like that. Okay, that gives you that Fresnel effect. Okay, but this isn't your typical cube, okay, so I'm going to turn that all the way up. But that doesn't seem to work right because remember we were talking about this rainbow thing. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my magic texture here and plug that into these two colors. Now watch what this is going to do. That's going to give that a rainbow effect throughout the whole thing of it, but I have a factor into color number 2 as well. So I still have that Fresnel effect. Now watch, I'm going to adjust the depth of this, and you can play around with this too. I'm going to adjust the depth to 0. Okay. I'm going to change the scale and adjust that down to like, I'm going to go like 0.6 or 0.5 on that, I think. Looks pretty cool to me. Okay. So you see, now we have a little rainbow action in the kingdom. Isn't that cool? Right? So, yeah, I think that looks really awesome. Now, the reason why this whole thing really works is because of this icosphere. If we didn't have it, like let's say if this texture here for the Earth was an emission texture, because that's the only way we could light this thing up. We don't have a light bulb. Actually, we could put a light bulb inside the kingdom. You know, the Bible says that that our Lord is the lamp inside this kingdom, huh? So I don't have a model of the Lord handy, with me. But what we could do is we could go, let's see, object, snap, cursor to selected. Okay, so that just moved my cursor to that position. And we can go wireframe, and we can go add mesh monkey. There's Suzanne. Now we can make Suzanne light this place up really cool. But we want to line her up correctly because she's not lined up very well. So